Township of Edison Zoning Board of Adjustment, regular meeting of November 26, 2024 is now in session. Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975 has been provided by the annual notice published in the Home News and Tribune on December 18, 2023, as posted in the main lobby of the municipal complex on December 18, 2023. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Ayotte?
Here.
Ms. Shaw? Here. Mr. Bigno? Mr. Carley? Mr. Chabra?
Here.
Mr. Cerrito?
Here.
Mr. Patel?
Here.
Mr. Barone?
Here.
Mr. DeVay?
Here.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Here.
And Chairman Cumba?
Here. Madam Secretary, minutes for consideration.
September 24th, 2024, minutes of approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, second by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Cumba?
Yes on the motion.
Thank you.
Good evening. We have two announcements. KZ 34, 2023, Mohammed Zubair at 106 James Street has been carried to December 17th, 2024, with no renotice required. If you're here for this case, you're listening at home. This KZ 34, 2023, Mohammed Zubair will not be heard this evening. It will be heard on Tuesday, December 17th at 7 p.m. Here in Council Chambers. KZ 36, 2022, Tiven Lane LLC at 114-132 Tiven Lane East has been carried to February 2025 with a date to be determined. Ms. Shaw, it says no notice required. Is notice required since there's no date?
Notice will be required.
So they will renotice for that case. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There's a regular meeting of the Township of Edison Zoning Board of Adjustment. The board is composed of Edison Township residents appointed by the Township Council who volunteer their time and service to the board. The municipal land use law requires that members successfully complete a land use training course administered by the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs. This board also holds in-house training conducted by our board professionals. The zoning board abides by the provisions of the municipal land use law in addition to our board's bylaws. The zoning board is a quasi-judicial land use board which differs from the Township Planning Board. Under the municipal land use law, board members are required to be impartial and are not allowed to discuss any case prior to its hearing at consideration before the board. All applicants will have the opportunity to present their case before the board with the opportunity for board members and board professionals to question the applicant and their witnesses. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation of their case, the case will be open to the public. Residents within 200 feet of the subject property will be heard, followed by residents from outside of 200 feet. All residents will be sworn in. They'll provide their name and address, and then will be given 6 minutes to comment on the application being considered without the opportunity for a rebuttal. Residents may ask questions of the applicant's professionals, and board professionals. The board requests that these questions are asked prior to any comments being made on the application. Once commentary begins, the resident's timer will begin. The applicant will be allowed for the opportunity for cross-examination of their witnesses. Under the law, the chair is allowed to stop any comment that is repetitive or is an attempt to filibuster the board. Further, the chair is allowed to stop any commentary that is irrelevant to the case or prohibited from the board's consideration. Once the public portion is closed, all public comment is ended unless new testimony is presented by the applicant. Following the closure of the public portion, the applicant will have the right of summation on their application. Following summation, the case will go to the board for a decision. This procedure has been followed by the board and is similar to the procedures followed by boards of adjustment statewide. The municipal land use law requires the board to engage in a balancing act. It is not required to strictly apply township ordinances, zoning plan, or master plan. As a board of adjustment, variances are granted when appropriately necessary, following all legal considerations. As has been the case with prior boards, the board will see where we are if we are still in session around 10:30 p.m. I ask that all applicants, professionals, and residents show respect to each other and be civil throughout all proceedings. I ask that you withhold applause, booing, or interrupting of anyone while they are speaking. The chair will not tolerate any outbursts by applicants, professionals, or the public. Further, since most cases are being recorded by a court reporter, I ask the speakers do not speak over one another. Madam Secretary, first case on the agenda, please.
Case number Z28, 2024, Edison Muslim Community Center at 152 to 157 Plainfield Ave. Application for relief of condition. Applicant is requesting to amend its approval by seeking relief from a condition of approval and proposing a new alternative condition. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is John DeLuca of the law firm Saville Shaw.
Counsel, if you just bring the microphone way closer to you, we just want to make sure you're heard.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Once again, my name is John DeLuca of the law firm Saville Shaw. I'm here tonight representing the applicant Edison Muslim Community Center. This is for the property located at 157 and 159 Plainfield Avenue. That's also designated as block 161.13, lot 1.01, lot 1.13, and lot 1.14. The owners of these lots are Edison Muslim Community Center and also Mohid Rafai, who consented to this application. This property is located in the RB zoning district, where houses of worship are permitted as a conditional use, but that definition in your ordinance also contains it's a lengthier definition that we do not qualify for. So when we appeared previously, we were seeking a use variance, and I'm here to talk a little bit about that approval and the conditions that were imposed as part of that approval. So that prior application was Z10 2023, in which we sought all necessary relief to construct a mosque on the property. Hopefully you have in front of you a copy of the resolution of approval dated June 18th, 2024, in which all the legal relief necessary to effectuate our proposal was indeed granted. So we're here tonight to address two primary issues. First, we are providing an updated and accurate list of congregants who live within walking distance of the site and who therefore are unlikely to need parking for regular services. And then the primary issue we're here for tonight is a relief of condition. And the condition we're seeking relief from is condition J, which appears on page 8 of that resolution, which required us to provide to the board a parking agreement with Wicks Plaza for spillover parking when we envisioned that we would host Eid festivals on high holidays. So for that prior application, the legal relief that was included and granted included preliminary and final site plan approval, bulk variance for maximum lot coverage, a bulk variance for minimum parking spaces, and the use variance, which I referred to earlier. Again, those were all granted subject to certain conditions that I'll talk about a little bit further in a moment. The prior witnesses on that application were Basir Akhtar, who is sitting to my left. Mr. John DuPont was our site engineer and professional planner. Ashraf Ragab was our architect, and Qazi Masood was our traffic expert, and he's here again tonight and will provide further testimony. Now, these witnesses described the various activities that would occur on the site once it had opened as a house of worship. These activities included daily prayers, religious education, a to-go soup kitchen, Friday prayers, and Eid festivals or high holiday festivals. You may recall that these witnesses described how none of these activities would occur at the same time. The daily prayers would occur early in the morning, the religious education would occur midday to late afternoon, and the Friday prayers would occur, of course, on Fridays. And we also described how if there was too many congregants showing up for those Friday prayers, we agreed to have staggered Friday prayers. We wouldn't have everybody show up all at once. We would leave enough time in between the services so that everybody would leave and the parking lot would spill out, and then the next congregants would come in. You also may remember a significant amount of testimony focused on the parking concerns and how individuals would fit within the building at any one time, noting that Muslim prayers are conducted kneeling down on a mat with everybody spread out. And that maximum occupancy was 216, and that hasn't changed. It's still 216, and We also explained that a certain number of these congregants do walk to services, and to the extent that parking remained a concern, we also stipulated to a condition that if more than 200, as I implied just a moment ago, if more than 216 congregants were ever expected to attend those Friday services, that we would stagger them for multiple services at different times. Like I said, leaving enough space in between those services for everybody to clear out and the next members to arrive. So additionally, and more focused on this instant application, were the Eid celebrations, where more than 216 congregants are almost certain to attend. And we had stipulated to a condition of approval that we would provide an agreement with the Wicks Parking Plaza, or the owners of the Wicks Parking Plaza, for spillover parking during those Eid festivals. Unfortunately, that agreement could not be fully realized. We had an agreement in principle in place, but during the pendency of the application, the resolution compliance process, that agreement expired, and we weren't able to negotiate the finer details and fully execute the agreement. So that brings us to tonight's application. We're seeking relief from the condition that we provide that parking agreement with Wicks Plaza. And more accurately, we're seeking to eliminate that condition and propose a new alternative condition. And that new alternative condition would be that we propose to not host Eid festivals at the mosque. We would host them off-site at a banquet, at a park, just as this community has been doing for many years at this point. So in preparing this application, we also learned that list of congregants who lived within walking distance was a little bit outdated and not as accurate as it could be. So tonight, we're also providing the board with an updated list. You should have in front of you our exhibit packet. I pre-marked those exhibits A1 through A10. We'll talk about them as we go through our presentation. But I'll allow my witness to identify that as we go through it, actually. So I do intend to present two witnesses tonight. First will be Basir Akhtar. He's a member of the community as a member of the Board of Trustees. And then I will also present the testimony of our traffic expert, Quasi Masood. So unless there are any legal questions for me or other housekeeping matters, I would ask that my first witness be sworn in to testify.
Mr. Akhtar, would you raise your right hand? We need a microphone for him. Can we,
Just on the other table.
is that, he needs a microphone as well. Can he take that one? Yes, please.
Thank you.
Mr. Akhtar, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
And please state your full name for the record.
Basir Akhtar.
Okay, Basir, you have a copy of the exhibit packet in front of you, correct?
Correct.
Okay, can you describe what you see marked as Exhibit A1?
Sure. So this is basically the list of congregants. We did provided this list earlier also, and there were a couple of individuals. We found them which either moved out to different areas or they are not within the vicinity anymore. So, and like people moved out, either they are renting the place or they are homeowners, they sell the houses. So, conditions changes. So we updated the list and verified each and every individual within the list. In addition to it, we have a list of people who may not been verified as the homeowner in that list, but they are, we literally verified them, each of them, by contacting them that they are within the vicinity and 10 minutes walking distance from this place.
Okay, and how many individuals did you identify? What's the number of individuals that would walk to services most likely?
We identified 128 within 10-minute distance.
So when you say within 10 minutes walking?
10 minutes walking distance.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Our criteria was just to be more specific within half a mile radius.
Understood. Now, I'm going to direct your attention now to the exhibits marked A2 through A8. Can you describe what these 7 exhibits show?
Sure. So these are the different events we have done in the past. I think about 4 of them been performed this year itself, where we did not host these event on our premises. We either rented out any banquet halls or we rented out any parks and conduct these events there because of the limited spaces within our premises and the parking restrictions. So that worked out pretty well for the community, and our community is pretty much familiar with the entire process since they follow these events in the past also.
Now, let me ask you, without the ability to park in Wicks Plaza, is it even desirable or practical to host any of these events at the mosque?
That was actually, we had a second thought about it, that we actually don't need that Wicks Plaza parking agreement at all within for our purposes. The way we are handling our other events where we anticipate a bigger crowd and we usually go out to different bigger places to conduct this, we can follow the same process for our Eid prayers also.
So you've identified a couple of sites where obviously you've done this in the past and you are more than willing to continue to do it that way in the future.
Exactly.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to tell the board tonight about these Eid festivals and these banquet halls where you've held them in the past?
The only thing is that these 2 events which we are which are in discussion for tonight is only 2 times in a year, so it is not very frequent. It's basically 2 days we are talking about throughout the year, and they are about 60 days apart. So if board have any other questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
I don't have any further questions unless the board does.
Does the board have any questions? Mr. Brown?
Mr. Bashir Akbar,
Correct.
I see here in Exhibit A that the residents residing within walking distance of the property under 10 minutes, and I happen to live in the area, so I know these locations very well. So my question to you is, this confirms that they are living within 10 minutes of the mosque, proposed mosque, but that doesn't have any bearing on that they're all going to be walking. Some of these people are on the other side of Route 1, so they would have to actually cross Route 1 or on Stony Road. That's quite a distance to the corner of Plainfield Avenue and Route 1. So what bearing does this really have upon that they're all 128 residents are within walking distance, but what assurance do we have that they will be walking?
Good question. So, Mr. Baran, we did try to reach out to most of these people individually to verify their intention, how they are planning or intend to come to the mosque. I would say more than 50% we were verified and they confirmed with us that this is what their intention is. The second thing I would like to add, that within our faith, people get more rewards when they walk to the place of worship compared to go with some other means. So people, like they prefer if they have an opportunity and if the place of worship is not too far, they do prefer to do that. Secondly, even though the count here is 128, Mr. Qazi, who's our traffic engineer, can talk more about it, but we are seeking a credit of only 50% of these walking congregants. We are anticipating that, as you said, not every single person is willing to walk to this place. So we are seeking a credit of only 58%, which turn out to be about 60 something. I don't want to be incorrect. 64. So 64 people we are seeking credit who's going to be walking, not 128. Anything else you want me to add here?
Well, if half of the people were not going to walk, then are those remaining people driving or not coming?
So there is a possibility they may drive, but we have a parking limited up to 48 vehicles. So once we reach to that point, the doors will be closed. It doesn't matter if the person is living 5 minutes away or 50 minutes away, he has to wait for the next prayer.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask can I ask a follow-up question, so just based on Mr. Brown's? So parking lot's full, doors are closed.
Correct.
correct? So you would agree to that as a condition, if so
Yes.
approved? Okay, all right, thank you very much. And then also I have a question. What are your proposed times for services?
So that I will defer it to Mr.
Okay.
Qazi.
Okay.
He has the entire presentation
Okay.
on that. He can go
All
into
right.
more detail.
All right, sorry to jump the gun on that one.
No problem.
Does the board have any, Mr. Dave?
All right, so the original list that you gave us who are going to be walking distance, how many people were there? How many residents agreed before this new list? The one we have
You
in
asking the
resolution.
delta, all right? What is the difference? We did found almost about 7 different house members who were, so 4 of them were actually moved out. They are not the current resident of Edison anymore. 2 of them, their family members were listed incorrectly, so we updated that. And I forgot what happened to the 7th.
No, I'm not asking, who moved out or who moved in. You had 128 residents now you are putting in this list. How many residents you had proposed before they wanted to walk in old resolution?
So in the old resolution, just as with this one, we were seeking credit for 50%. The number was 80, so we sought credit for 40. So now the number is 128. We're seeking credit for 64.
Okay, and then how would you enforce that they're going to walk? What, do you have something in writing from them? How you consider they're going to walk and you believe them that they're going to walk?
So, as I said earlier, I mean, the limitation of the parking space is 48. Even if they are not willing to work, bring the cars, they have to wait. So we encourage people to walk to the premises, so we don't, have a parking issues there. But if they come with the car, then they have, and if the parking lot is full, the parking lot is full.
And then when they come there and there there will be congestion there when you turn around, when you close the door, right? Close the gate, what happens? Congestion there, traffic congestion there, people are going to turn around. What are they going to do?
So we do anticipating of having the police presence in place. In addition to it, we will have a contract with the security company who will be on the premises. They will be on the Plainfield Avenue, right next to the Plainfield Avenue, and we will be guiding and educating our own community to follow the laws and follow the principles. We do have our groups where we made the announcements, where we update the community that what is the current situation, and hopefully people will start following it.
Right. You all know that this is very small space for this mosque in this space. We allowed with a lot of conditions and traffic. The parking space was a major condition that you are seeking relief from. My concern, I don't know the rest of the board, is that not just the Eid, but Friday's prayers, you're going to have that overcrowded. How are you going to manage without having Big Plaza as your alternate parking space? Did you look for any other parking space around?
So Big Plaza condition was not in effect for Friday even before also. We have an agreement with Plaza only for the Eid prayers. And previously we did provide all the different alternatives that we will split the prayer. People, that's what we are doing right now, and a lot of other Islamic centers are already doing it because of this reason, because the parking is usually the bottleneck.
Right. So the old resolution had a condition that you're going to split the Friday prayers. Now, you might have to keep, it doesn't need to be overlap, and you need to allow time for other people to leave, 48 people, other 48 people to come in. Who's going to manage all that stuff? The people leave and then people come. Until then, they just wait, they just come right on time. What happens? How are you going to manage all this stuff without having Big Plaza?
Correct. So again, I'm not an expert. We did some homework, but I will still defer again this question back to our traffic engineer who's certified, and he can provide
How much time you're going to allow between the two prayers for exit and entry of the other?
He said 40
residents?
minutes.
Okay, you can have those. Did you guys look for any other space where you can have the bigger mosque?
We did explore a couple of options, and we did reach out to some township officials to help us out, and we are still exploring. If something comes out, we probably definitely, consider it.
Mr. Chairman, if I'm not mistaken, that was not just for the Eid. The Vic Plaza was for even Friday spillage as well, no?
What was presented was the agreement for 2 holidays, was for Eid, and so one was in May, what was in June, correct me if I'm wrong?
Correct. I mean, because if, we follow the lunar calendar, which is a little bit different, so it moves every.
But it
year.
was only for this year, for 2024.
Correct. I mean, that was one of the requests made by the board to update and put a name of the event instead of the date.
Correct.
All right, so, Mr. Chairman, the board biggest concern was the parking there. So I will leave it at that, all right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Does the board have any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Basir.
Thank you.
If Mr. Masood could be sworn in and qualified as an expert.
Masood, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And pull that closer if you need to. And state your full name for the record.
Sure. My first name is Quazi, Quazi. Last name is Masood, Masood. I have a master's in transportation engineering and bachelor's in civil. Master's from Florida International University. I have over 20 years of experience in traffic engineering. And I'm a licensed professional engineer and PTOE in state of New Jersey, and my license is correct.
Great, thank you very much. We'll accept you.
Sure. Thank you.
So, Mr. Masood, I'd like to direct your attention to the exhibits that were pre-marked as A9 and A10. If you could walk the board through those exhibits and describe the information that's displayed there.
Sure. Thank you. As you see on Exhibit A9, we did a traffic count at the driveway on Plainfield Avenue. Just at the bottom of this page on A9, you'll see a cross mark, red cross. That's where a person was standing. And he counted the traffic along Plainfield Avenue on a Friday prayer. As Basir mentioned, and you probably heard it before, in our religion, we have a total of 5 prayers daily. Times 7 a week is 35, 5 times 7. The most important prayer is the Jummah. That's what the Friday afternoon prayer. And usually it occurs at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. But it starts with the sermon first and followed by a 15-minute prayer. So we did a traffic count between 12 and 2 p.m., 1 hour before the prayer and 1 hour after the prayer with a 30-minute increment. As you can see, the northbound direction and southbound direction, the most critical time is between 1 and 1:30. The traffics were northbound, along northbound is 320 cars altogether. We classified the vehicles into 3 different classes: cars, SUV, van on class 1, trucks and buses class 2, and the bikes on class 3. And in the same thing is southbound Plainfield, we have around 319, a total of 319 vehicles passing through that critical hour, half hour. And we did a capacity analysis along Plainfield to see how much capacity is left so that the additional traffic will not have an adverse impact on the road itself. The V over C ratio on the most critical one is 0.3 between 12:30 and 1:30, the full 1 hour. So that tells us that we have pretty much 70% of the roadway capacity left to accommodate the additional traffic. And on the next one, the most critical one is the A10, which the parking calculation was done. I can go over the whole list. As you probably heard, that a total of maximum 216. The facility can accommodate a maximum of 216 individuals. And what we are seeking is a 50% of the 128 walking congregants as a credit. If you deduct 64 from 216, you end up with 152. And according to the Township Code 3760.3D, of 1 parking is required for every 4 seats. That gives us a total requirement of 38, and we are providing 48. So even on a Friday prayer, if the house of worship or the mosque is at full capacity with 216 people, assuming 64 of them are walking and the remaining of them are driving, you end up with 38 required parking, and we are providing 48. So we think that it's probably going to be enough to accommodate the parking over there on a Friday prayer. And like John mentioned, we don't have any plans to hold the Eid prayers, which is twice a year, because that obviously will attract more than 216 at a time. So we are not doing that, and that's out of the question now. And that's when we are not seeking any variance or waiver for that. And if needed, like Basir mentioned, this is for one prayer. If needed, we can always stagger it. And the way we are planning to stagger it is the first hour, 12 to 1, is first prayer, 40-minute gap. And then the second prayer would be 2 to 3 p.m. So altogether, the question I think Michael asked, the total hour, the praying time, best case scenario would be 12 to 2 p.m. And the worst case, if we stagger it, it's probably going to be 12 to 3 p.m. The 3-hour window on a Friday. That's the most critical one. Other than Fridays, the other 34 prayers, like the morning prayer, midday prayer, afternoon, evening prayer, you probably, in the mosque, we'll probably have a maximum of 20 people. That's typical. That's what's happening. The Friday afternoon prayer is the most critical one. That's when we have the maximum number of people. That's what we did the analysis for.
I have no further questions. I assume the board does.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Masood?
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman?
So on Friday, the hours are 12 p.m. to 3 p.m.?
Yeah, if we have 2 staggered prayers, it's probably going to be 12 to 3. And if you have 1 prayer, 12 to 2.
So what are the hours for Monday? What's the hours for Tuesday? What's the hours for Wednesday? What's the hours for Thursday? What's the hours for
Other
Saturday?
days of the week is typically 1 p.m. And that's when you see maximum 20 people, 15 to 20 people.
So Monday through
Saturday, Sunday, except Friday, like
okay,
afternoon.
will be 1 till...
Yeah, usually the morning, like I can go over the hours.
All I need is I just need to know when 1 to what?
Monday through Sunday, except Friday, the afternoon prayer time is 1 p.m. So people usually starts to show up 15 minutes before the prayer and 15 minutes after the prayer. So 12:45 to 1:15. The prayer time is 1.
Okay, thank you.
And I will just note, so those would be the peak prayer times. The prior resolution does contain the condition C, that the hours of operation will be held from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. So no activities whatsoever would happen outside of those hours, except for some...
Like I said, there are 5 prayers a day. Let's say talk about Monday. 5 prayers. The morning prayer is at the sunrise at the 5 a.m. Afternoon prayer is 1 p.m. Then the late afternoon prayer is 4 p.m. The evening prayer is at sunset, so 4:30. And then the late night prayer is around 6:30. So that's how the five times prayers are. And the most critical one is the Friday prayer. That's the Friday midday prayer.
All I need are the operating hours. If this gets approved, that's going to be part of the condition.
Okay.
So let's do this again, right? So
Sure.
on Friday, it's 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., correct?
Correct.
There's nothing at 5 a.m.?
There should be, there are 5 prayers on Fridays. Okay, every day of the week, let me give you the numbers again. Every day of the week, the morning prayer, 5 a.m.
On Monday?
On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Morning prayer is at sunrise, it's 5 a.m. Then midday prayer is 1 p.m. Then afternoon prayer is, I think, is 2:30 p.m. now. It depends on the sun too, because of the how long the day is. So it's not fixed for the entire year.
Okay, so the
5
hours of
a.m.
operation will be 5 a.m. to 9 p.m.
5 a.m. to 9 p.m. That you can put it.
That's all I need to know.
Right,
Thank
5
you.
a.m. to 9 p.m.
Thank you.
Correct.
Does any board members have any other questions for Mr. Massoud?
Yeah, Mr.
Mr. Duncan.
Chairman. So your testimony, the 48 space is enough for this space.
Yes.
Is based on the 64 residents are going to walk.
Correct.
And you have to produce some kind of document signed, sealed by them that they are going to walk.
Assuming 64 of them are driving, the other 64 will be walking. Yes.
Okay.
I
and
mean, not all of
if the
them probably
64 are
will.
driving,
Yeah.
where they're going to park?
Because if you deduct, that's what we did the math on A10. If you deduct 64 from 216, you end up with 152. And then each 4 seats require 1 parking. So you divide 152 divided by 4.
So you are thinking that one car will have full 4 people individually,
No,
one car will
that's-
not have one driver coming in?
That's as per the code. The code is required for a house of worship 3763D.
No, I get it, but you are assuming that 64 would come, 4 in a car, so restrict the car coming to the mosque, correct?
It's not that 64 in one car, or 4 people in on one car. What we are assuming is 4 seats for 1 parking. That's what we are assuming.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you you have an old resolution copy, right?
Yes.
All right, go to page 7 and paragraph 9. Can you read it? Can you read it loud, please?
Okay, Mr. Massoud further indicated that there is an agreement with Plaza, for the Week Plaza, which is not a
All right,
question.
continue reading.
Yeah, 244 stalls to be dedicated use in the mosque on Fridays and larger events. He further indicated that there will be later 2024 with week 2 for 2 dates where there would be dedicated spaces for overflow parking, especially April 29 and May 17, 2024. He indicated that the reason the letter is specific 2024 is because 2 Eid festivals for 2024 will be held on those 2 days, and the dates vary when the mosque would need extra parking. Notwithstanding, he indicated week would cooperate for future scenarios when applicant would need additional parking spaces.
Okay, so the very first sentence which says that Vic Plaza for 244 parking stalls to be dedicated for use by the mosque for Fridays and larger events, not just larger events. So if Friday you have spillover, where you're going to park? You guys telling me that you're going to split the services, how much time you're going to allow in between? And thereafter, if you have more cars coming in, how are you going to manage it?
There'll be 40 minutes in between 2 prayers.
Okay,
That's why we have the staggered prayers, so 12 to 3 p.m.
So, and I just want to also expand on that. Right now, there's a concrete proposal for 2 staggered prayers. My client had also contemplated 3 staggered prayers. I don't know exactly what time that would be, but it was something that we talked about. And the reason we're back here tonight is to clarify, obviously, the list of walking congregants, but if there's other inconsistencies in this resolution that aren't perfectly accurate to what this proposal is, we'd obviously want to clear those up. So Mr. Board Member, you're absolutely correct that this states that the Wicks Plaza agreement would be for larger events and for Friday prayers. Obviously, there's no agreement, so it won't be for Friday prayers.
No, I get it. My question is, you came with you want a relief for the larger events. I get it. What happens Fridays? You still need parking for Fridays.
So our calculations show that the parking is sufficient based on the requirement for 1 parking space for 4 seats in the house of worship.
All right, so that's your belief that only 64 people walk and there are not that many congregants going to come to the mosque. That's your belief. Friday's prayer is as large as some of the days as well.
Yeah.
And our board has not heard any testimony how are you going to manage those traffics on Fridays. I understand largely when you want to do off-site somewhere, I get it.
Well, if I understand the concern. It's a legitimate concern, and it requires us to provide testimony that we intend to mitigate that concern. The way we intend to mitigate it is by staggering the prayers, by having security that will circulate traffic.
Have volunteers maybe
And,
from
and,
the
by,
mosque.
if we get to capacity and the parking lot is full, the doors will be closed, and that security that's in place will direct people to depart and come to a later service.
I believe that to mitigate this is to find the alternate parking spaces if you lost Vic Plaza. This place is not suitable for that kind of events and that kind of mosque. A lot of people are going to show up there, and there will be parking nightmare. Regardless, you want to split the prayers on Fridays, but the Friday overspillage, where they're going to go. Right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Does the board have any other questions for Mr. Masood? Mr. Brown?
Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Masu,
Yes.
I know you're a traffic, but you're amplifying a lot about the prayer schedule and the number of people coming and going, driving versus walking and all of that. Let's eliminate the walking people for a minute. The 64, they're going to walk, so it doesn't really matter. Even if that were perfect. You have 50 cars, roughly 48, 4 in a car. So you have 200 people coming and going for each change of service. Does each prayer get 216 people?
Approximately, yeah, with full capacity.
Well, that's my question. Is it only Friday night that's full, or is it
Only
midday
Friday.
prayers? I heard 5 a.m., 1 p.m., 2:30 p.m., and then what happens after 2:30?
Yeah, the mosque empties. I mean, it's everybody goes back home, so there's not until the next
When I
prayer.
meant,
So
Mr. Masood, the question was, what prayer service happens after 2:30? The next one and then the following one?
So if you have two prayers, for example, then the first prayer would be at 1 o'clock, the second would be at 2. So it's a prayer is only 15 minutes.
And Mr. Masood, could you tell the board, during those early morning prayers at 5 a.m., approximately how many people attend those?
Maximum 10, 5 to 10.
And-
And all other 34 prayers, I mean, 5 times a day, 7 days a week, except the Friday prayer, all 34 prayers, maximum 10 people.
Mr. Masood, just for me and the board, can you tell me again the schedule of prayers on Friday, starting at 5 a.m.?
So first one is at the sunrise, 5 a.m. Then the most important one, it's 1 p.m.
Okay.
And then the third one is at 2:30. And the fourth one is at sunset, which is 4:30 now, because it's winter time. And the fifth one is the last one is the evening at 6:30.
6 p.m.?
6:30.
6:30. That's on Friday.
Yeah, and the most important one is the 1 p.m. Other than that, all other 4 prayers on Fridays typically attract more than maximum 10 to 20 people.
The 4:30 and the 6:30 are the ones that are really most important,
Correct.
at least for the board,
Correct.
because that's where you have the greatest congestion, especially on a Friday night,
Right.
holiday season, dark.
Correct.
I heard there's a security to help with the transit in and out, but still, I know it's a one-way street either way. East and west, it's one way. Difficult to make a left turn even from Hillside, which is one of the
Right.
connecting streets to Plainfield. And
And that's when you
it just seems nightmarish. And to my colleague, I just want to say this. I respect very, very much the Muslim religion and the proposal that you're making for this mosque. I think it's wonderful. And I have come to really admire the Muslim religion as I've gotten to know them better and better. As my colleague had said, and it was my impression also from your previous hearing here, this is wonderful, and it would be so much better if it was in a different location, in my opinion, because it's just too congested an area, as I see it, to have this kind of activity. And
But Friday, the 4:30 and 6:30 will have maximum 20 people, 15 to 20. That's the most critical one is the 1 p.m. That's which is an off-peak.
I understand.
And just to add another mitigating factor that the community would agree to is, you mentioned that left turn is nearly impossible. If we needed to put up a no left turn sign and direct everybody to go right, they would track back if they needed to make a left by going elsewhere. And then we would also be willing to execute a Title 39 agreement to enforce that rule if necessary.
I understand, Mr. DeLuca, right? But it's really at the inconvenience of residents and people who live on that street and people like me that live in the vicinity, and I know this area. I can't sometimes make a left from Hillside. During the day, just to make a left turn is challenging. One car. Just saying, but that's my questioning, Mr. Chair.
Does the board have any other questions for Mr. Masood? Mr. Masood, I have a question, and I'm not sure if you can answer this. Is there any type of notification for congregants? Do you have a like a text message system where, doors are, where our parking is at capacity, doors are closed, or is this something that you'd propose? Because I'm going to be honest here, I run late for church all the time. So if I'm running late and I know I'm going to get there and the doors are already closed, well, I'm just going to turn back and I'll go to a later. Is this something that either you have or you would consider?
We do have notifications. Yeah, and also on the Friday prayers before the prayer starts, we can always educate our congregants because these are all local. These are local, and one of the things in our religion, if you walk to the mosque, you get extra reward instead of driving. So that's another thing. A lot of people, if they live in a walking distance, they prefer to walk because you are taking an extra step and to walk to the mosque to attend the prayer. That's an extra reward from our God. So that's a special spiritual thing. That's one of the driving force why people walk to the mosque if they live within the walking distance.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Mr. Masood, are you going to go, we just want to go over Mr. Bugnell's report?
I don't have a copy of that.
You don't have a copy of it? Oh, good. Mr. Bugnell.
Are we on now? There weren't really any other changes. I believe it was addressed last time other than the testimony that they provided regarding not having the Eid occasions. And so, I mean, we can go through the letter again, but I think it was previously addressed. There weren't any site plan changes to
Okay.
with the revision.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're on record for that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Luke, do you have anything?
I have nothing further.
Okay, all right. You good?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so we will now go out to the public. Anyone within 200 feet of subject site wanting to be heard, if you were within 200 feet, you received a notice via certified mail. Anyone outside 200 feet wanting to be heard? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close for the public portion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Patel, seconded by Mr. Cerrito. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public portion is now closed. Mr. DeLuca, do you have any summation?
Yes, I do have a summation. So my summation argument would be that obviously we were here previously. We obtained a use variance for this mosque in this location. A big discussion of that was parking. Part of the presentation we put forward last time included 80 walking congregants. So we only sought credit for 40, assuming that 50% of them would walk and 50% of them would possibly drive. After doing some more digging and further effort, we identified 128 people who could potentially walk. And again, we only seek credit for half of that, 64. The fact that that went up is another reason why we think that it alleviates the parking burden and that this Wicks Plaza agreement becomes not quite as necessary given the fact that we're not going to have Eid festivals and we've identified more congregants who are likely to walk. So the standard here for relief of condition is good cause. Now you can't set aside the use variance standard, special reasons, and the negative and positive criteria under Section 70 of the MLUL. But I will note that this is a house of worship, so it's inherently beneficial use. That's a special reason. And then in terms of the negative criteria, the impact to the zoning ordinance, the zoning plan, and the surrounding area, the general public, the general good. We're not proposing to host Eid festivals, so this is actually a lesser use than what we proposed the first time. And then additionally, the houses of worship are permitted in the zone, albeit it's a conditional use, so it doesn't disturb the master plan or the zoning ordinance. So those would be my legal arguments for why this is proposed. But just from a practical standpoint, you heard the outpouring of support from the community the last time we came out here. You heard the individuals come up and say how important this would be to have a mosque, a house of worship in their own backyard, how important it is for them personally, and how important it is for the community to foster education and religious faith. So I think this would be a great benefit, not just for the Muslim community, but for the greater Edison community. It's an extremely welcoming group, an extremely welcoming community. They welcome not just Muslims, but people of all faiths and walks of life. So I really hope that the board balances those factors and finds that it is appropriate to grant relief from this condition. Of course, we're proposing a condition that we would not have Eid festivals there, that we would stagger prayers, that we would have security, that we put up a no left turn sign, direct everybody to turn right, sign a Title 39
Messaging services.
What was that? A messaging service to alert congregants that it's full. Come to a later service, or we'll see you next week. So, with all that in mind, again, I just hope that the board does what it did the last time we were here and grants this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the board for any discussion or motions.
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chairman?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this application. This house of worship is inherently a beneficial use in New Jersey. It's met the positive and negative criteria, and it's based on the conditions that in the resolution that was approved back on June 18, 2024, except for the WIC agreement, which never came about. In addition, the parking lot, if it's full, the door will be closed. There's no Eid prayer. Also, you're going to hire Edison police, in addition to the security and your volunteers. And also the exhibit package that was submitted tonight for the 10 exhibits. You'll comply with that. And also Bignell Planning Consultants, you'll comply with that also.
I would just also
And
add,
the Friday prayers would be staggered 45 minutes apart.
All right, okay.
and then also that they would agree to a condition that they would establish a messaging service to alert congregants.
Correct.
All right. Motion is made.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, second by Mr. Cerrito. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chopper?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Brown?
Reluctantly, yes, because of my concern over parking, but I will say yes.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
I would say yes, with the condition, I would say that, you guys find a bigger space somewhere if congregants grows, and I know that's going to happen. But I understand that community need this space, place of worship, and I agree with the conditions. Right, my vote is yes.
Okay. Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. Unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a 5-minute recess before we hear the second case.
long as you got, we see them lit up.
Are we good? All right. We're back in session. Madam Secretary, next case on the agenda, please.
Case number Z20-2024, Goldberg Builders, 2076 Woodbridge Ave. Applicant is seeking preliminary and final site plan approvals of variances previously granted to construct a two-story mixed-use building. Block number 346, lot number 2.02. Affected property is located in the OS2 zone. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, board professionals. Lawrence Sachs on behalf of the applicant, Goldberg Builders. This property is located at 2076 Woodbridge Avenue, also known as Block 346, Lot 2.02. The property is located in your OS2 zone, which is your office service zone. As the board may recall, we were last here back in May, at which time the board granted use variance. This was a bifurcated application, but you granted use variance approval for a two-story multi-purpose building. Ground floor is proposed to be commercial. The upstairs is proposed to be three one-bedroom apartments. The resolution was memorialized at the end of July, and in that resolution, there were several conditions that were imposed. The most important one is that you required us to come back for preliminary and final site plan approval, which is why we're here tonight. There were several other conditions as well. One of them was that the applicant provide an easement or access for an adjacent neighbor. Secondly, that the architectural plans be consistent with the site plan, that all apartments are restricted to being one-bedroom apartments, which of course we will continue to comply with. That the parking be delineated for the separate commercial and residential uses on the property, and that the basement areas only be used for storage only. So I believe we have addressed all of those outstanding conditions. The ones that are continuing will certainly comply with. I do have one witness this evening, Mr. John DuPont, who is the engineer on this project, and he will testify to the various revisions that were made on the use variance plan, which are now converted to the site plan. We do acknowledge receiving the reports from Mr. Carley dated August 28, 2024. We'll go through that. We can comply with pretty much all of his technical recommendations. And we also have a report from Mr. Bignell dated August 2024, and we'll also address that as well. So, Mr. Chairman, if I can, if we can have Mr. DuPont sworn, and he will run through the site plan.
You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And just state your name for the record.
John P. DuPont.
Mr. DuPont, if you just give us a summary of your qualifications and background.
I have a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering. I am a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, licensed. I'm also a licensed professional planner. I'm also a certified municipal engineer. I've served for the Borough of Carteret for the Planning and Zoning Board for the last 25 years. I've been in front of this board as both an expert in engineering and planning, and all my licenses are current and good standing.
Great, we'll accept you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, so Mr. DuPont, I know that you have prepared the site plan in accordance with, obviously, a review of the resolution on the use variance, and if you can give the board the highlights as to what's being proposed with respect to the site plan.
I certainly will. And if I can, I'm going to go over to the board. I have a set of plans, and I'll walk over there.
Absolutely.
So if you look at the existing submitted plans, we're looking at an existing 7,000 square foot vacant lot. Okay, the proposed conditions, the applicant's proposing to construct a 3,000 square foot multi-purpose building, 750 square feet of commercial space on the first floor, and one-bedroom apartment on the first floor. On the second floor, 2 one-bedroom apartments, and then there'll be an associated proposed parking lot as well for that. As you heard, the prior approvals, this board has already granted a use variance as well as bulk variances, so we're here simply for the site plan. The parking lot has 11 parking spaces, including 1 handicap accessible space and 2 EV spaces for a total of 13 credit. 2 parking spaces are assigned to each one-bedroom apartment, the remainder being assigned to the commercial space. The site plan shows a small mixed-use building. It's towards the corner of Woodbridge Avenue and Thomasine Street, free of the site triangle, back away from the site triangle. We have that on the plan. The proposed parking lot does in fact have assigned spaces. I know it was a condition of approval, the prior approval. The parking lot will have lighting in conformance with your standards, and we do have a lighting plan that's on sheet 2 of the plan. Shows 2 lights in the parking area, 1 building mounted, 1 pole, and that's all you need to cover the 11 spaces. The parking is surrounded by landscaping around the perimeter of the parking lot, as well as the frontage of the building on Thomasine. We've heard discussion about one of the requirements was to provide access to an adjoining property. The adjoining property is right up against they're about 6 feet off our property line. And they didn't have the access to their rear property, they lost that access. I guess they must have been encroaching on our property a little bit for the width. But it's okay, we agreed to provide them access. So we provided in the back of our parking lot, a small area you're gonna see is porous pavers. It's kind of right in the middle of our parking aisle, and then there's a depressed curb there, and there's a 24-foot wide access aisle. So for the adjoining property now, they will have access through our parking lot, over the depressed curb, over the porous pavers into their lot. Trash, garbage and recycling. We provided a 6 foot by 6 foot concrete pad adjacent to the building that will have garbage and recycling. With respect to stormwater, this is a vacant lot before there is an increase in impervious coverage. It's minimal, it's 0.13 acres. There is some increase, again, we believe de minimis in the stormwater runoff, and the drainage pattern is still the same. So the property currently is a vacant lot, runs from the back of the property to Thomasine. Under proposed conditions, it does the same thing. So we're not gonna adversely impact any neighbors. We're not proposing on-site detention of any kind because there's a small amount, but the pattern is still the same. There's no water going to adjoining property, so we believe that's a good design. We talked about the one section for the adjoining property. We have review letters. We have a Big Nell planning letter of November 21st. We can comply with everything, but there are 2 issues I want to address in the letter. 11C talks about floor area ratio. The variance granted was 0.49, was the granted under the previous approval. The current plan is 0.42. Building got a little smaller. So just want to clarify that. It was a discrepancy. The actual FAR for this project will be 0.42. And 11I was discussion about the trash and recycling. Again, in the enclosure, screened in, concrete pad, won't be seen from the street. We have a DNR review letter dated August 28th. We could fully comply with that, but again, we want to address a couple of the items in that letter.
Mr. Dupont?
Yes.
Can you just pump the brakes a second?
Sure.
All right, Mr. Bignell.
Are we on? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yeah, so they agreed to comply with everything in our letter as long as the access easement, which is shown, is a condition of approval. We're good to go.
Okay. And I would assume you have no objection to the FAR being reduced from 0.49?
Correct.
I thought so, okay. And then the refuse and recycling, you're okay with?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Good.
Go ahead, Mr. DuPont.
Okay, so the DNR letter, August 28th, again, can fully comply, but let's talk about 4 different points in that letter. 2.1 talks about the condition, previous condition about providing access to the rear parking, rear lot of the adjoining property. There was discussion in the DNR letter about paving the neighbor's driveway. Ended up being was more of porous pavement, depressed curb, and an access easement. So just wanted to clarify that. That's how that was addressed. 5.2 asks about the stormwater management. So and that's what we just kind of talked about. Very small lot, de minimis increase in runoff, same flow pattern, not directed to any adjoining property, draining towards Thomasine, so it'll be collected on asphalt straight through. The other 2 comments are 8.1 and 8.2. Talks about 2 things. 8.1 talks about wetlands, potential wetlands on the site. We believe there's none. And 8.2 talks about potential floodplain, 100-year floodplain on the site. We believe there's none as well. Now, Mr. Carley saw that on the state website. We're going to verify both of those, but we believe there's not either wetlands or floodplain on the site. We'll gladly confirm that. And that is the site plan in a nutshell. It's a pretty basic, straightforward plan, but if you have any questions, I'd definitely answer them or if I could help anybody.
Mr. Dupont, just before we go to any board questions, just a couple other clarifications. In terms of the parking, do we comply with the RSIS? We have 3 one-bedroom apartments, is that correct?
Yes, we have 3 one-bedrooms. Each one-bedroom is assigned 2 spaces. We meet the RSIS, and we meet your code as well.
All right, and we're getting credit for the EV that's proposed as well?
We do. We have 2
Okay.
EVs.
All right. I know there was a comment from Mr. Carley in 4.4 about security provisions. We're going to propose some building-mounted security lighting, motion detector lighting.
Yeah, so there is proposed lighting for the parking lot proposed. Yeah, we'll put it on sensors or motion sensors, would be no problem at all.
Okay. I know Mr. Carley wants us to consider irrigation. That's not something we've factored into this, but if we do, we'll certainly provide some irrigation if we feel it's necessary. I think on paragraph 6.3 in Mr. Carley's report, just want to indicate to the board, we're not proposing any emergency generator, so that was one of the questions he had. But I will indicate, Mr. Chairman, that all the other recommendations, technical recommendations made by Mr. Carley, we will be willing to comply with.
Thank you. Mr. Carley?
Yeah, the board had the benefit of reviewing the plan over the summer for the use variance. I believe at the end of July, you memorialized the resolution approving the use and bulk variances. So this is the site plan. Mr. DuPont's characterization of the site layout is accurate. It's parallel and perpendicular to Woodbridge Avenue and Thomasine Street. Our concern expressed on item 2.1 has to do with the condition of that July 28th, 2024 resolution for Z06 2024. And Mr. DuPont did provide testimony that access to the adjoining property will be provided and or maintained. You know, the rest of our report, it says first review on it for Z 2024, but it's really our second review, the first one for the use variance. And in the intervening time since the issuance of that Z06 2024 first review for the use and bulk variances, Mr. DuPont has checked his boxes. Relative to those things, item 8.1 and 8.2, Mr. DuPont did touch upon them. The resource materials do indicate that, but resource materials aren't always 100% correct. So as long as we have Mr. DuPont's certification by letter, that would make me about as happy as I'm ever going to get.
Certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. We're going to take a 2-minute recess, but then we'll go to the board for questions for Ms. DuPont. Thank you very much. Board's going to return to session. Thank you very much. All right, so does the board have any questions for Mr. Dupont with regard to the engineer?
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chairman?
how is the trash going to be? Is it, you going to have a dumpster there, or?
Yes, there's a 6x6 enclosure on a concrete pad fenced in, so it'll be contained in there and then removed from that point.
And what about the recyclables?
Both in that one unit.
In the same dumpster?
No, but in the same enclosure. So it'll be a
Right.
6x6. So it'll be two different containers.
And then what time is the dumpster going to come? It's not going to come 6 o'clock in the morning, right?
No, we'll make sure that we can stage that so that it's not obviously.
What time is it going to come? After what?
Between 9 and 5 p.m.
9 a.m. and 5 p.m.? Okay.
We're okay with that.
Great, thank you.
I have a question for the architect. Architectural plans.
Well, we don't have our architect here this evening, but perhaps we can answer it, so.
Okay, so it does say glass and metal railing on the top roof. Is there any access to the rooftop?
Yeah, let me have Mr. Ali sworn in. So come on up.
Mr. Ali, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And state your full name for the record.
Khwaja Ali, owner of Goldberg Builders. Resident KHAWAJA and ALI. Welcome.
Mr. Chauber?
Yes. In regards to the glass railing on top, is there access to the roof?
No, there's no access to the
You have to bring the microphone closer. Mr. Ali?
I'm sorry. No, there's no access to the roof, and we are not having the glass railing either. So it's going to be changed, The glass railing is not going to be there.
Okay, because your architectural plans show that, so there's no access to the roof.
There is no access
Is
to
there
the
going to be any AC units or anything on the roof? Any enclosures on
No,
the roof?
right now, there's nothing on the roof.
Okay. and
There's
how-
going to be a regular roof.
Okay, and how big is like your facade there, the lip on the roof? Is it? 'Cause it
The
does
lip
seem
on the
pretty-
roof on the top
Yeah.
is just going to be a regular roof with a pitch.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
So I also have a question, Mr. Dupont or Mr. Ali, if you can answer this. But would you agree to a condition, if so approved, that in the office would not have any closet or ever be used as a bedroom?
Yes, and I think that was one of the conditions in the use variance resolution.
I just wanted to make sure that, there's no, I know not to be used as a bedroom, but don't entice it and put a closet in there.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Mr.
Yeah,
Dupont?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dave?
So you are getting rid of the glass and metal railing. What about the decorative metal cornice you have on both ends? Are you still keeping those as well?
I'm going to ask Mr. Ali that question.
You probably will, because we are just going for the regular roof. We are not going for that, the facade is going to be similar, but not the roof part. The roof part is changed to a regular roof.
So that currently I see that it looks like a metal panel, right? The
Metal.
cornices?
Yeah.
So you're still doing the metal panel cornices?
We are not going to do
You're not doing that as well? So nothing beyond the roof
Exactly.
level?
Yeah.
Just the pitch
just the
roof?
regular roof, pitched roof. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
And I think the last time in resolution, we had question where you're going to put your condensers. You're going to put the condensers on the roof?
I believe they're going to be on the ground. I don't know. I don't think they're rooftop condensers.
I don't see anywhere ground the condenser space.
You know what? Give us
So we can modify the site plan to show them on the ground behind the building.
Okay, would that take any additional parking space? Where are you going to put it?
No, there's room behind it. There's room behind it. There's room there's a bike rack, there's an enclosure. There's 6 feet space behind it. There's room right by the trash enclosure,
So
actually.
what, you'll have total 4
And that's just four?
For the three apartments
Three
and
apartments
one
and the commercial
retail space, nothing for the basement?
Correct.
Okay, but it would be conditioned space. You might have utility pipes and kind of, so you might have provide some kind of heating.
Wait, you need Mr. Ali, you need a microphone.
Basements are normally, 60 degrees anyway, so we are using just for the storage purposes, so there should be no any reason for it to have their own conditional space.
Okay, so only 4 condensers on
Only
the
4
ground?
condensers,
Okay,
yes.
got it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Ayotte.
if I may. Mr. Ali, will you have an outside entrance into the basement? Bilko
No,
doors?
I don't believe so, but it will be probably not outside, it will be just the stairs from the
From
inside.
inside?
Yeah, they'll just
So the
go-
furnace, the water heaters and everything will be carried down
Yes,
the stairs?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Mr. Carley, sorry.
Yeah, just really quick, Mr. Chairman, just a note of caution for the applicant. The architectural section drawings that were presented to the board do show a flat roof with some parapets. Now, if you're going to have a pitched roof, be sure that you don't do something such that you're back in front of the board for a building height variance. Well done.
Yeah, and Mr. Carley, I think what we'll do is we will provide revised architecturals. We're going to need them anyways for purposes of construction, if the board acts favorably, but we'll provide those as well.
It's just my way of saying, understand what you're doing.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Dupont. Mr. Sachs?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I appreciate the board entertaining us this evening. Certainly, we'll comply with whatever representations we've made this evening. We'll comply with those continuing conditions that were in the use variance resolution. And we request that this board act favorably on this application for site plan approval.
Okay, we're now going to go out to the public. If anyone within 200 feet of the subject site wanted to be heard, if you're within 200 feet of the subject site, you received a notice via certified mail.
Sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I will.
And please state your full name, provide your address.
Okay. My name is William Turkis, Turkus. I live at 728A Ralston Plaza, Monroe Township. And I have the adjoining property that's known as Rider Education in New Jersey. And I really only came to confirm a couple of things. One is that the gas line for our building comes about 5 feet from the building down the side. So that's actually going to be on your property. And I just want you to make aware of it, because I guess you're going to have the gas company move it. And the other thing is we get a lot of water runoff during these storms. It, I guess, normally went across and down the field. And now they put a building up there that's going to divert a lot of that water. I'm just concerned that it's going to run into your parking lot. So that's something else you may want to address, because the water actually comes off of Woodbridge Avenue, runs down the side of our building, and it comes down into across our back of our building. And what was the other thing? Oh, yes, we haven't received an easement in writing for that property. And my last concern for the builder is that if they're going to put the footing of that building 3 feet out, actually it's a cellar, is 7.5 feet below grade. So if you're going to put a footing 3 feet away, it's going to be really close to the footing of our building, and it could be. I'm just concerned about the footing slipping. So it's something you need to be concerned about. So I guess it can be, I guess, reinforced, but it's something that we want to be sure that it doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're going to provide construction details to the Edison Township Construction Department, and certainly they're going to ensure that there won't be any issues with that.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else within 200 feet of the subject site wanting to be heard? Anyone outside 200 feet? Can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close for public portion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Patel, seconded by Mr. Jabber. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public portion is now closed. Mr. Sachs, do you have any summation before we go to the board?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman. I believe we have agreed that we will comply with all of the use variance conditions. Any other representations made this evening? Any comments from Mr. Carley? I think this is a nice project for this section of town, and I request that the board act favorably on it.
Thank you very much. We'll go to the board.
All right, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dave.
I'll make a motion to approve the application. This applicant is seeking preliminary and final site plan approvals of variances of the previously granted to construct two-story mixed-use building that includes 3-bedroom apartments and 1 retail space and a basement with no outside entrance. Basement is for the strictly storage purposes. The applicant agrees to comply with the engineer's report. 4 condensers would be installed at the ground level now. There would not be no glass metal railing, no cornices metal. There is no construction beyond the roof line. Based on what we heard just now from the neighbors, you might require underpinning or supports of the excavation SOE when you guys do the excavation basement. That's part of condition, so their basement is not compromised. And you also provided some kind of stormwater management system, so there is no flooding of your parking lot or the neighbor's property.
Second.
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chairman.
I want to add a couple more conditions.
Go ahead.
Okay. Also, the dumpster pickup will be 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The current FAR is .42. There's no closet in the office, in each apartment. Also, the applicant will provide an updated stormwater calculations, including the parking lot. And also, they will comply to the Bignell Planning Consultants report and also Delaware Raritan Engineering report.
Mr. Chairman, before you take a vote, I know Mr. Dave made a comment about stormwater. We're not proposing any stormwater management on this property because it's under the the necessary acreage. However, what we do have, and just maybe that was in response to the member of the public who spoke, we will have a parking lot that is entirely curbed and will channel the water away. So we actually do have that type of fail-safe as to that, but we're not proposing any additional stormwater management on the property.
I would say rainwater, so it doesn't flood your parking lot and doesn't go to a neighbor's property. The rainwater mitigation, need to be diverted somewhere.
Right, but I think again, and we're going to provide Mr. Dupont is going to provide some stormwater calculations, updated stormwater calculations, but even based upon the original, it was not recommended that we provide any additional stormwater management. In addition, I don't think Mr. Carley even recommended that. I just want the board to be aware,
Sure.
that we do have curbing in this parking lot, which will obviously be a benefit than what you have there now, which is unrestricted flow, so.
And I would also add that the applicant will provide revised architecturals and plans.
Yes, we will.
Okay. All right. So motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Brown. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Brown?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion. Congratulations, this case is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Members of the board.
Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Okay, Madam Secretary, any other business come before the board this evening?
That'll be all this evening.
Okay, thank you. So just wanted to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. Wanted to thank the board members for their time and talent, and also wanted to thank our board staff and our board professionals, and of course Edison TV, who makes us look so good every week or once a month. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Patel, seconded by Mr. Cerrito. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Board stands adjourned. Thank you, everyone.